He should have just died on the street where he belongs. I've been a judge for over 30 years. I've heard thousands of cases. I've seen anger, I've seen tears, I've seen regret. But I had never heard anything like that. Not in my courtroom, not in Providence Municipal Court, not anywhere. My name is Frank Caprio, and I'm the judge here. I've always believed that my courtroom should be a place where everyone gets treated the same. It doesn't matter if you're rich or poor, young or old, powerful or struggling. In my court, we all stand equal before the law. But on this particular Tuesday morning, that belief was about to be tested like never before. If you believe justice should be equal for everyone, you'll want to see what happens next. The bailiff stood up. He cleared his throat and read from his paper. Case 2026 TR 84729, the State versus Marcus Chen. Charges: reckless driving, leaving the scene of an accident, and assault. I looked up from my desk. Mr. Chen, please step forward. A young man walked toward the bench. He was maybe 24, 25 years old. He wore a designer suit that probably cost more than most people make in a month. His shoes were shined so bright they reflected the courtroom lights. His hair was perfectly styled. He had a Rolex on his wrist that caught the light every time he moved his arm. And on his face, a smirk, not a nervous smile, not a worried expression, a smirk. He walked like he owned the place. "Good morning, Mr. Chen," I said. "Do you understand the charges against you?" He shrugged. "Yeah, I guess." "You guess?" I raised my eyebrow. "These are serious charges. I need you to tell me clearly. Do you understand them?" "Yes, Your Honor." He said it like he was bored. Before we went further, I needed to hear from the other person involved. "Is Mr. Thomas Whitfield present?" An older man stood up slowly from the back of the courtroom. He was probably in his 60s. His clothes were worn and patched in several places. His face was weathered, with deep lines around his eyes. He carried a cane, and I noticed he limped as he walked forward. His hands shook slightly. "Mr. Whitfield," I said gently, "please come up and tell me what happened." Thomas Whitfield took a deep breath. His voice was quiet but steady. "Your Honor, I've been homeless for 3 years now. Lost my job at the factory when it closed down. Lost my apartment after that. I sleep in different places, try to stay safe. 3 weeks ago, I was crossing Broad Street. I had the walk signal. I was halfway across when I heard tires screeching. Next thing I knew, I was on the ground. A car hit me. My leg..." He paused and touched his thigh. "My leg was broken. The car stopped for maybe 5 seconds. Then it drove away." "You saw the driver?" I asked. "Yes, sir. It was nighttime, but the streetlight was right there. I saw his face clear as day. It was him." Thomas pointed at Marcus Chen. I looked at Marcus. His expression hadn't changed. He still looked bored. "Mr. Chen, is this true?" I asked. "I was driving that night," Marcus said casually. "But I didn't hit anybody. This guy probably just fell down drunk and is trying to blame someone with money." A few people in the gallery gasped. Thomas Whitfield's face went red, but he didn't say anything. I felt my jaw tighten. "Mr. Chen, that's a serious accusation you just made. Do you have any evidence that Mr. Whitfield was intoxicated?" Marcus waved his hand dismissively. "Come on, Judge. Look at him. He's homeless. They're always drunk or on drugs or something." "Mr. Chen," I said, and my voice got firmer, "in my courtroom, we do not make assumptions about people based on their circumstances. We deal with facts and evidence. Do you understand?" He rolled his eyes, actually rolled his eyes at me. "Sure, whatever," the gallery murmured. I could feel the tension rising in the room. "Let's look at the evidence," I said. "Prosecutor, what do we have?" The prosecutor stood up. She was a young woman named Sarah Rodriguez, and she'd been working these cases for about 2 years. She was thorough and fair. "Your Honor, we have several pieces of evidence. First, there's the police report. Officers responded to the scene within 10 minutes of the incident. They found Mr. Whitfield on the ground with a broken leg. Witnesses at the scene gave a description of the car, a black Mercedes-Benz with a custom license plate reading B&K Roll. That plate is registered to Marcus Chen." Marcus shifted his weight but said nothing. Second, Sarah continued, we have security camera footage from a store near the intersection. It clearly shows a black Mercedes hitting Mr. Whitfield and then driving away. The license plate is visible. I looked at Marcus. Mr. Chen, what do you have to say about that? He shrugged again. Maybe someone stole my car that night. Did you report it stolen? I asked. No. Why not? I didn't know it was stolen, he said, like this made perfect sense. But you just said someone might have stolen it. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. He was getting annoyed now. Look, can we just speed this up? I have a lunch meeting at 1. My hands gripped the edge of my desk. In 30 years, I'd learned to stay calm, but this young man was testing me. Mr. Chen, you're in a courtroom facing serious criminal charges. Your lunch meeting will have to wait. This is about a man who was injured, who suffered because of someone's reckless actions. Do you understand the gravity of this situation? It's just a broken leg, Marcus said. It's not like he died or anything. The courtroom went completely silent. Even the court reporter stopped typing for a second. Thomas Whitfield looked down at the floor. I could see his hands gripping his cane so hard his knuckles turned white. Just a broken leg? I repeated. Mr. Whitfield, what happened after you were injured? Thomas spoke quietly. I was in the hospital for 4 days. I had surgery. They put pins in my leg. The bill was $63,000. I don't have insurance. I can't pay that. The hospital gave me a payment plan, but... He shook his head. I can't work now. I used to do odd jobs, help people move things, clean up yards. Can't do that with this leg. I've been sleeping behind the library because I can't walk far enough to get to the shelter on the other side of town. I looked at Marcus. Do you hear what this man is saying? Your actions changed his life. Marcus laughed. Actually laughed. Changed his life? Judge, the guy's homeless. What life? He was already at the bottom. Can't fall when you're already on the ground, right? More gasps from the gallery. Sarah Rodriguez shook her head in disbelief. Mr. Chen, I said, and I could hear the steel in my own voice now. I'm going to warn you one more time. You will show respect in this courtroom. Or what? Marcus said. He took a step closer to the bench. You know who my father is? David Chen, Chen Industries. My dad has lunch with the mayor. He plays golf with half the city council. You really think you can do anything to me? I stood up slowly. Mr. Chen, your father is not on trial here. You are. And I don't care if your father plays golf with the President of the United States. In this courtroom, you follow the rules like everyone else. Marcus smiled, not a friendly smile, a cold smile. You're just mad because you're some old judge who makes what, maybe $100,000 a year? I spent more than that on my car. You see these shoes? He lifted his foot slightly. $3,000. My watch? $50,000. I'm 24 years old, and I'm worth more than you'll ever be. The whole courtroom was staring now. Nobody moved. Nobody even seemed to breathe. Sit down, Mr. Chen, I said quietly. Why should I? He said. This whole thing is a joke anyway, so I bumped some homeless guy with my car. So what? You know what I should get? A medal. I probably did society a favor. One less bum begging for change on the corner. That's enough, I said, raising my voice. But Marcus wasn't done. He turned and pointed at Thomas Whitfield. Look at him. What does he contribute? Nothing. He's useless. He takes up space, makes the city look bad, probably smells terrible. Honestly, Judge, I think I should send him a bill for the damage he did to my car. There's a dent in my bumper now. Do you know how much a Mercedes bumper costs to replace? Thomas just stood there, tears running down his face now. He didn't wipe them away. He just stared at the floor. I was about to speak when Marcus said the worst thing I'd ever heard in my courtroom. You want my honest opinion, Judge? He should have just died on the street where he belongs. Would have saved everyone a lot of trouble. Would have saved you this waste of time. Would have saved the hospital money. Would have saved me from having to stand here listening to this garbage. Homeless people are parasites. They're worthless. And this one, he pointed at Thomas again, he's the most worthless of all. 10 seconds of pure silence. Then the courtroom exploded. People were shouting. The gallery was on their feet. Someone yelled, "Throw him in jail!" Someone else yelled something I couldn't quite hear. Sarah Rodriguez had her hand over her mouth, her eyes wide with shock. Thomas Whitfield collapsed into a chair, his whole body shaking. I slammed my gavel down. Once, twice, 3 times. Order, order in this court. Slowly, people sat back down, but the anger in the room was thick. You could feel it like heat coming off pavement in summer. I looked at Marcus Chen, really looked at him. He stood there with his arms crossed, that smirk still on his face. He thought he'd won something. He thought his money and his father's name made him untouchable. He was wrong. I took a deep breath. My heart was pounding, but my voice was steady when I spoke. "Marcus Chen," I said, and I said his name slowly, clearly. "I want you to listen to me very carefully. For 30 years I have sat on this bench. I have seen thousands of people come through this courtroom. I have seen people who made terrible mistakes. I have seen people who were truly sorry for what they did. I have seen people who were angry, confused, scared, desperate. But Marcus, in all those years, I have never, and I mean never, seen someone with as little humanity as you just showed." He started to speak, but I held up my hand. "No, you've talked enough. Now you're going to listen. You stand here in your expensive suit, your designer shoes, your $50,000 watch, and you think that makes you better than other people. You think your money gives you the right to hurt someone and walk away. You think your father's connections make you immune to consequences. Marcus Chen, you are wrong on every single count." I pointed at Thomas Whitfield. "That man right there, his name is Thomas Whitfield. He's not some homeless guy. He's not a parasite. He's not worthless. He's a human being. He worked at Foster Manufacturing for 22 years before it closed. He paid taxes. He raised a daughter by himself after his wife died. His daughter is now a nurse in Boston. He was a good employee, a good father, and by all accounts a good man. He fell on hard times. That doesn't make him less than you. It makes him unlucky. There's a difference, Marcus. And if you can't see that difference, then your expensive education failed you completely." Marcus's smirk was fading now. "You hit this man with your car," I continued. "You broke his leg. And instead of stopping, instead of calling for help, instead of doing the decent thing that any human being should do, you drove away. You left him lying in the street in pain. And when you're confronted with what you did, you mock him, you insult him, you say he should have died." I leaned forward. "Let me tell you something, Marcus Chen. The measure of a person is not in their bank account. It's not in their car or their watch or their shoes. It's in how they treat other people, especially people who can't fight back. And by that measure, Marcus, you are bankrupt." The courtroom was dead silent now. Every eye was on me. "You asked me what I can do to you," I said. "Let me show you." I picked up my gavel, but I didn't strike it yet. "Marcus Chen, I find you guilty on all charges: reckless driving, leaving the scene of an accident, and assault. Now here's what's going to happen." I counted on my fingers as I spoke. "First, financial penalties. You're going to pay for Mr. Whitfield's medical bills, all of them. That's $63,000. You're also going to pay a fine to the court of $25,000, and you're going to pay Mr. Whitfield an additional $50,000 in compensation for his pain, suffering, and lost income. That's a total of $138,000. You have 30 days to pay in full." Marcus's face went pale. "Second, your license is suspended for 2 years. You will not drive any vehicle for 24 months. If you're caught driving during that time, you'll go to jail immediately." "But I need my car for—" Marcus started. "You should have thought about that before you hit someone and drove away," I said. "Third, community service. You're going to complete 500 hours of community service. And Marcus, I'm going to tell you exactly where you're going to do those hours. You're going to volunteer at St. Vincent's Homeless Shelter on Camden Street every Saturday and Sunday from 8 in the morning until 5 in the evening for the next 6 months. You're going to serve meals. You're going to clean. You're going to listen to people's stories. You're going to learn that homeless people are human beings with names and histories and dignity." His mouth fell open. "Fourth, You're going to write a handwritten apology to Mr. Whitfield, not typed, handwritten, minimum 2 pages. You're going to explain what you did, why it was wrong, and what you learned. You'll submit it to me for approval. If I don't think it's sincere, you'll write it again. And fifth, I said, you're going to create a public service announcement, a video, 5 minutes long, about the dangers of hit-and-run accidents and the importance of taking responsibility. You'll work with the prosecutor's office on the script. We're going to show that video in every high school in Providence. Your face will be on it. Your name will be on it. Everyone will know what you did. Marcus was shaking now. The smirk was completely gone. Your Honor, he said quietly, I'm sorry. I didn't mean... Yes, you did, I interrupted. You meant every word. But here's the thing, Marcus. I'm going to give you a chance to prove me wrong. I'm going to give you a chance to become a better person. Whether you take that chance is up to you. I looked at him hard. But if you violate any part of this sentence, if you miss even 1 day of community service, if you drive even once during your suspension, if you fail to pay what you owe, I will hold you in contempt of court. And Marcus, contempt means jail time. Do you understand? He nodded, his voice barely a whisper. Yes, Your Honor. I can't hear you. Yes, Your Honor, he said louder. Good. Now there's one more thing. I picked up a piece of paper the prosecutor had given me earlier. We also have evidence of your behavior after the accident. Text messages you sent to your friends. Let me read one. Hit some homeless dude tonight. Whatever, he'll be fine. LOL. Another one. Dad will make this go away. I'm untouchable. Marcus closed his eyes. For showing such complete disregard for human life, for mocking this victim, and for your behavior in my courtroom today, I'm also holding you in contempt of court. Bailiff, take Mr. Chen into custody. He'll spend the next 14 days in the Providence County Jail. After that, his other sentences begin. The bailiff stepped forward. Marcus's eyes went wide. Wait, what? Jail? You can't... I just did, I said. Bailiff. The bailiff put handcuffs on Marcus Chen's wrists. The sound of the metal clicking shut echoed through the silent courtroom. Marcus looked around like he was waiting for someone to save him. No one did. His expensive suit, his designer shoes, his fancy watch. None of it mattered now. As the bailiff led him toward the side door, Marcus looked back at me one more time. For the first time since he'd walked into my courtroom, he looked scared. Take him away, I said. The door closed behind them. I turned to Thomas Whitfield. He was still sitting in the chair, tears on his face, but now he was looking up at me with an expression I couldn't quite read. Mr. Whitfield, I said, could you come here, please? He stood slowly, leaning on his cane, and limped toward the bench. When he got close, I did something I'd never done in 30 years as a judge. I stepped down from the bench. I walked around to where Thomas stood. He looked confused. The whole courtroom was watching, wondering what I was doing. I extended my hand to him. Mr. Whitfield, I said, I want to shake your hand. I want to thank you for your patience and your dignity today. I want you to know that you have value. You matter. And what happened to you was wrong. I'm sorry it took so long to get justice, but I hope today's verdict helps, even just a little. Thomas stared at my hand for a moment. Then, slowly, he reached out and shook it. His grip was strong despite his shaking hands. Thank you, Your Honor, he said, his voice breaking. Thank you. No, I said. Thank you for reminding us all what grace looks like. The courtroom burst into applause. People were standing, clapping, some wiping tears from their eyes. Sarah Rodriguez was smiling. Even the bailiff who'd taken Marcus away had come back and was nodding with approval. I stepped back up to the bench and sat down. This court is adjourned, I said, and struck my gavel one final time. 6 months later, something unexpected happened. Marcus Chen came back to my courtroom, but this time it wasn't for a hearing. He'd completed his jail time. He'd been volunteering at St. Vincent's Shelter every weekend like I'd ordered. He'd paid every dollar he owed. He requested a meeting with me in my chambers. I agreed to see him, though I wasn't sure what to expect. He walked in looking different. He wore regular clothes, jeans and a sweater, no designer labels in sight. His hair was simpler. He looked humbled. "Your Honor," he said, "I wanted to tell you something. I finished my community service hours, all 500, but I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep volunteering at the shelter." I raised my eyebrows. "Why?" "Because you were right," he said. "I met people there. Real people with real stories. There's a guy named Robert. He used to be a teacher. Lost everything when his wife got cancer and the medical bills piled up. There's a woman named Diana. She's a veteran. She served our country and ended up on the streets. There's a kid, 19 years old, named Jamal. His parents kicked him out when he told them he was gay. These aren't parasites, Your Honor. They're people who got dealt a bad hand. And they're some of the kindest, strongest people I've ever met." He paused. "I also wanted to tell you that I met with Mr. Whitfield. I apologized to him in person. I told him what I've been doing. He forgave me. I don't know if I deserve that, but he did it anyway." I nodded slowly. "That says a lot about Mr. Whitfield. What does it say about you?" "That I have a long way to go," Marcus said. "But I'm trying. I'm really trying." After he left, I sat alone in my chambers for a while. I thought about that day in court 6 months ago. I thought about Marcus's cruel words, his smirk, his arrogance. I thought about Thomas Whitfield's tears and his dignity. I thought about justice. Justice isn't just about punishment. It's not just about making people pay for what they did wrong. Sometimes justice is about transformation. It's about taking someone who's lost their way and giving them a chance to find it again. Marcus Chen walked into my courtroom as a spoiled, cruel young man who thought money made him better than everyone else. He learned the hard way that it doesn't. He learned that every person, no matter where they sleep at night, no matter how much money they have, deserves respect, deserves dignity, deserves to be seen as human. I don't know if Marcus will stay on this better path. I hope he does. But whether he does or not, I know one thing for certain. In my courtroom, everyone stands equal, rich or poor, young or old, powerful or powerless. That's not just a rule, it's a promise. And it's a promise I'll keep every single day I sit on that bench, because that's what justice really means.